Mrs. Meserve is here with me today. She did a lot of sports throughout both high school and college, so we'll be talking about that today. But Mrs. Meserve, you said your sports journey really started in childhood, and you said you were a pretty active kid. So how did your childhood spark your interest in sports?
Well, I was definitely one of those kids who was always out playing in the yard. And when I look back at pictures of myself when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, I was always climbing on everything. So if we went to a park, I'd be climbing on the structures. I climbed trees. I climbed onto the roof of my house once. We had a single story home. Um, but then I was raised by a single mom, and I think she felt like keeping me involved in sports was going to be a way to keep me out of trouble and use all of that energy that I had. So I was a really energetic, active kid, and she would play everything with me. So we started. She was a very good tennis player. She doesn't. She's still with us, but she doesn't play tennis anymore. So we would play tennis in the driveway. We would pitch softballs in the hallway. I had a long hallway that was tiled. She let me roller skate in the house. We would play, we would just throw balls all the time. We were just always like, I would try to play one-on-one with her. We got a basketball hoop. We'd play kickball. In the winter, we'd go skiing. We had a hill in our backyard of our house, and I would ski down that and make little jumps. And, I was just always active, and she just supported me with that all the time. I was constantly saying, Mom, will you play catch? Mom, will you, just always. And she would always play.
How do you think your future would be different if your mom was like not as involved and like encouraging?
I have no idea what would have happened to me. Because it really did keep me busy. And, she was working full time. So I probably would have been pretty unsupervised, and I guess hopefully I would have gotten a job or gotten into something else. But I think having the sports to keep me busy was a really good idea.
Did you find it helpful as a way to make friends and make like good friends, not, just random friends who might not be the best influences?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, we lived in a neighborhood where there were a lot of kids, and I had some close friends as a child. And then in middle school, we sort of diverged, and they started doing some things that weren't quite as healthy. And because I had sports, I was able to make a different group of friends, and I stayed with them through high school, and then met some new friends in college too through sports.
That's cool. I can relate. I think it's always good to be involved in athletics, and you can make a lot of good friends that way.
Yeah.
Next up, high school. So where'd you go to high school?
I went to Chelmsford High School in Massachusetts. Pretty big school, about 2,000 kids. So quite different from Hopkinton. I started off freshman year playing field hockey. I had played soccer all through childhood, but I had heard that you had to do a 2-mile run for soccer tryouts. And as active as I was, the one thing that I really did not enjoy doing was any sort of distance running. And so even the thought of having to do a 2-mile run, I just was like, oh, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to try field hockey. So I tried field hockey, and it was fun, and they didn't have to do quite as much running, but they had to do some running. But then I decided I didn't like playing field hockey because we had to wear skirts. So the uniform was like this plaid skirt, and it just seemed so weird to me to be wearing a skirt while playing a sport. Plus, at the same time, I had made a friend who was a volleyball player, and she knew that I really loved basketball, and she and her parents said, if you really want to get better at basketball, volleyball is a great sport because you have to do so much jumping and a lot of quick moving, and you should really try volleyball. So I did. I tried volleyball, and I loved it. It was a very competitive team. We won the state championship my sophomore and junior year. Sophomore year was my first year playing, so I didn't actually play. I got called up to the tournament team as a sophomore. I didn't get in the games or anything, but I was at least on the team. And then junior year, I was actually part of the team, and we won the state championship.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you take anything major away from that experience in terms of like the hard work to get there?
Yeah, I think that coach was probably the best coach I had in terms of training. She wasn't maybe my favorite coach in terms of personality, but she really had a regimented practice schedule. She worked us really hard, and it was just a clear example of how if you really work hard, you can achieve, because she was able to put out high performing teams year after year after year.
That's good. So you learned that you got to see the perspective of coaching. So then let's talk about your high school basketball.
High school basketball, we had freshman teams. at Chelmsford because there were so many kids who played. So freshman year, I was on the freshman team. I had Miss Williams as my coach. She had been my coach in middle school too, so I had known her for a while. And great year. I think having a freshman team can be really good for kids, especially I wasn't a particularly big kid. I was more of a late bloomer in terms of like my growth spurt. So I was pretty small as a freshman. And getting to be on a team where I got a lot of playing time was really key. Then sophomore year, I did make varsity, which was probably the worst thing that could have happened to me because I wasn't a swinger. I was like on the varsity, but I hardly played. And so that was a year that was a little bit frustrating, going to practice every day and not getting into games. And I loved the sport so much. So I think I actually would have been better off had I made JV that year. But then junior and senior year, we actually got a new coach and I was on varsity and we had some really good teams. We usually went pretty deep into the playoffs. My senior year, we were one game away from playing at Boston Garden.
Oh.
Yeah, and we lost to Revere High School. So that was a heartbreaker. But that basketball coach that I had junior and senior year might not have been as strong as my volleyball coach with, the training part, but in terms of just being an inspirational leader and like one of those coaches that you can just talk to about everything.
Yeah.
He was really great for that. He was, very big person in my life for those 2 years.
That's good. So you learned from that. What happened your senior season and what super noteworthy accomplishments did you have at the end of your high school career?
For basketball specifically, I don't remember anything too in particular. I was an all-star, but I wasn't I wasn't 1,000-point scorer in high school or anything. I was more of a role player. I played the 4 or the 5, so I was an inside player. Didn't really have a shot at that point in my game. I was just more of a pounder on the inside with getting lots of rebounds and things like that. So that was really more my role. But as I developed as a basketball player through college, it changed entirely.
Okay, so did you play anything in the spring?
Yep. In the spring, I played softball. I played softball my whole life. That was the one sport back when I was growing up. Kids were able to play 3 sports pretty regularly. It was much less common to specialize, which I think was great because I feel like, I was using different muscle groups all the time. I, knock on wood, wasn't really injured. It was just, I didn't have any overuse injuries. But softball was one sport that I did sometimes play on a summer all-star team and things like that. So that was fun to do that. I played on the freshman team again, and then played on the JV as a sophomore, and then didn't make varsity until I was a junior and senior. I played shortstop. It was really fun. A lot of my friends played softball. So that was a team that was just kind of like a fun season. It was a combination of good coaching and then just a team that was just a lot of fun to hang around with.
So did you win a lot in softball?
We would make the tournament. We would usually lose in like the first round.
Okay.
But we had winning records.
That's good.
Yeah, it was fun.
So after high school, you started you had a noteworthy accomplishment in high school, female athlete of the year, your senior year.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
And then you started the recruiting process and ended up going to college. What was that process like?
Yeah, I was actually recruited for volleyball at first. And the coach from Tufts University came to see me play my senior season of volleyball and said that he was interested in having me play volleyball for Tufts, which was the first time I'd ever really heard of the school. My mom had heard of it, but I hadn't. So I ended up applying very last minute, like turned in the application the day that it was due, just kind of on a whim based upon this guy having recruited me. And then there were some other schools that I was looking at. I was recruited for basketball by a couple of schools in Maine and, met with some coaches through that and toured a couple places and things like that. It wasn't quite the same process that it was now. And I wasn't ever really in line for any scholarship money. These were all D3 schools that were recruiting me. So my goal was to go to the best academic school that I could go to and then hopefully also play. So I did end up going to Tufts. And because when I got in, I went for the accepted students day and really fell in love with the place. And it was between Tufts, which was Division 3, and Holy Cross, which was Division 1, where I didn't know if I could play. So I was thinking, maybe I could go to Holy Cross and try to walk on to the team, or go to Tufts and maybe play volleyball or basketball or softball. I'm not sure. And I had somebody in high school who said going to Holy Cross would be like going to 13th grade, because Holy Cross, the demographics of the school was very much like my high school.
Oh,
It was very Catholic, very homogenous. And they said going to Tufts would be more like going to college, because it was a school that drew people from all over the world, all different backgrounds, that kind of
so
thing.
you wanted like more of a cultural experience than like a continuation of what you already knew the world to be.
Yeah, yeah. In the end, I decided that that's what I wanted to do. It was kind of like a bigger risk, I think. It was, a city school, and just a much different world than I had grown up in.
Mhm.
But I think it was the right decision.
All right. So after that, what happened with the whole volleyball thing? You said that that didn't end up
Yeah,
happening.
yeah, it was weird. I went to college. I was the first in my family to go to college in the traditional route. Both my parents had degrees by that time, but my dad had gone at night, and my mom didn't go until she was an adult.
Mhm.
So I didn't really have, and I'm an only child, and my mom's an only child. So I have a very, very small family, and I didn't know a lot of people who had gone to college and lived there. So going to college and living there was a huge adjustment for me. And the first day or week that we were there, they had a meeting for the volleyball team, which I went to. We didn't actually play volleyball, we just kind of talked. And then at the same time, I was going down to the gym to play basketball with whoever was around. There was like pickup games going on. And I just felt much more comfortable with the basketball crew.
Yeah.
And so I didn't go back to volleyball, and I just kept playing basketball. And the funny thing was that on the first day that I went down to the gym to play basketball with whoever was there, there was a girl there, and I looked at her and I thought, I know her from somewhere. And it turns out that she was the point guard for Revere High School, which was the team
Oh,
that had beaten us
yeah.
in my last senior game, and kind of like an arch nemesis type of thing.
Yeah.
So apparently she went home that day and called her high school coach and said, "You're not going to believe who's here." And her coach said, "Yeah, Danielle LaCroix," which is my maiden name. "You're going to be best friends with her." And Kim was like, "No, I'm not. She's terrible." Yeah, we were in each other's weddings. We're still friends today. We lived together. We were very, very close friends. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, I think it's kind of interesting you have that story, and like sometimes you'll have somebody who you're like, I'm never gonna get along with them, and then it's interesting to see how it works out years down the line.
Yeah.
So, what were some of the most noteworthy accomplishments of your college basketball career?
Well, we had strong teams every year.
Mhm.
And we had a lot of 1,000-point scores during the time that I was there. When I was a freshman, one of the seniors scored 1,000 points. And then in my year, my good friend Tara and I both were 1,000-point scorers.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty cool. And then after we left, two of the women that we had played with also scored 1,000. So it was just in the
Yeah.
time where, I don't know, it was just a big bubble of scorers. My 1,000 points were different than my friend Tara. She was a 3-point shooter. She had tons of threes. I only had 2 3-pointers in my entire high school
wow.
career. I mean, my entire college career. Sorry, I don't think I had any in my high school career. But I was not a 3-point shooter. I was more of I was a shooter by then. I worked really hard on my shooting game, and I was just the type of person that always went and played in my backyard, or went to hoops and played outside with the guys and things like that. So my game had changed a lot, but I was more of a drive to the basket, get fouled, 3-point plays, that kind of thing, and not a
Yeah.
lot of 3-pointers. So I think, scoring 1,000 was probably my most noteworthy personal accomplishment.
That's really cool, though.
It's really cool.
Not a lot of people can say they scored 1,000 points in college.
Yeah.
So, after that, you didn't do anything in the spring for college sports, did you?
I did play softball.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
I played softball my freshman year. And it was really fun. I was able to play shortstop for the team, and had a lot of friends from the basketball team who also played. But after that freshman year, I decided not to play anymore. And that was in large part because felt like I didn't have enough time to do other things.
Yeah.
And there were so many things available to do in college. So I just decided to stick with basketball.
You said you went to college to really focus on academics. What was your major?
My major was clinical psychology. I went in as a pre-med major, but with the adjustment to college being as tough as it was for me, and I took calculus and chemistry my first semester of
Oh.
college, and I didn't do well, and I didn't feel prepared really for that. So I ended up switching my major. I don't know, if I had stuck with it, who knows? But I love what I do now, so I think it all ended up for the best.
Okay, so what happened after you left college? You became an adult athlete at one point, right? So,
Yeah. So I left college and went on to get my master's degree. At that time, Mr. Meserve and I were dating, and he was up here coaching at Winnisquam. So we were living long distance. And so to keep busy, I played in some basketball leagues, played in the softball league. And when Mr. Meserve and I moved to Concord together after graduate school, we both played on the same basketball team together for a number of years in the men's league in Concord. So that was really fun because at that time, I think I was the only woman. There may have been one other woman who played in the men's league. So that was a fun experience. I never picked up golf despite my mom's urging, but I have picked up pickleball in recent years, and I'm really enjoying that. It's good for my competitive juices,
yeah,
play in some tournaments, and it's great exercise, a lot of fun. And I'm meeting a lot of really nice people through pickleball, so that's been nice.
that's cool. So then you became a counselor here, obviously. So
Yeah.
how'd you go from, that life in athletics to working here?
Yeah, my first job was in Gilmanton. It was a K-8 school. So when I graduated, I just put resumes out everywhere around New Hampshire, because Mr. Meserve was up here. By that time, it was pretty clear we were probably going to stick together. So I sent out resumes all over New Hampshire, and I got a job on August 27th with school starting like August 29th.
Wow.
Yeah. At Gilmanton School, which was kindergarten through 8th grade, which was a great experience. It was just a wide range of problems. Very young principal. I was very young, so it was kind of a young vibe in the school with a lot of teachers my age. Mrs. Blinn, who teaches at Maple Street, actually worked there too. So I met some good friends there, and I was able to coach basketball there. I coached their middle school boys team, and I coached their middle school girls team. So that was fun. Then we started having children, and so I took 10 years off to be home with the kids. We had 3 kids, and during that time, I still played in softball leagues, basketball leagues, things like that. I mean, I think I just know that I need to be doing something athletic pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
It's just what I need to feel happy. So I was able to continue doing that even while we were having kids. And then as the kids grew, I coached them in sports, and I got a job here about 10 years ago.
Wow. So
Yeah.
10 years working here pretty much?
10 years working here, not in this role. I was the career pathways teacher
Yeah.
for a while, and I coordinated the internships. I still coordinate the internships, but when this position opened up, I was able to apply for it, and fortunately I got it. And I feel like this is where I am supposed to be.
That's good.
Yeah, I really love coming to work.
Yeah. What have you taken away from Hopkinton in terms of just learning about the world, meeting new people, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it's just fun to see how everybody's journey is different, and we have some great families here. I love that families let me into their lives, and kids let me help guide them, through their
Yeah.
next steps and things like that. So it's kind of nice being in a community where I've raised my own kids, and I've gotten to see all of the teachers and how they've helped them, and how well my own kids are doing because of the experiences that they have here, and being able to help others have those same experiences is really rewarding.
That's very cool. So let's get to the last thing, coaching. Was it the athletics and the good coaches you had that really sparked your interest in that?
I think it was more just wanting to give back.
Mhm.
I don't have a huge interest in coaching, to be honest. I did it when my kids were little, because I think that it was important. I knew what I was talking about when it came to basketball, so I felt comfortable coaching that. I would not have felt comfortable coaching them in soccer or even softball, really. But I did feel comfortable coaching them in basketball. And so I did that, through their middle school years or thereabouts. But after that, I'm really more about playing and cheering
Yeah.
from the sidelines. I love watching sports. I think I could help kids more on an individual basis, but in terms of coaching and X's and O's and things like that, it's really not an area of interest for me.
All right, so you think you're pretty much done with coaching for the most part?
I think so.
So where do you see yourself? So you think you're just gonna keep continuing to go on with your career here and just keep doing the same stuff with sports? Is there any new sports you'd like to get involved in or anything new that people might not know you're interested in doing?
Hmm. I don't know. I probably will play golf eventually. I just don't really like it. I don't know. People say that I should like it, but I don't, not feeling it right yet. Other sports, um, I'm not sure. I play a lot of tennis, and pickleball has really been great. I think I'll probably just continue to do that. I actually did, where I said before that I didn't like distance running,
Yeah,
and I quit soccer because of 2 miles during COVID. Because we were all stuck at home, we dug the treadmill, literally dug it out of the garage and dusted it off.
yeah.
And I started running on that, and I now can run 3 miles in a row. And so I do that from time to time. So
Yeah.
maybe I would do a 5K or something like
Okay.
that. But yeah, I think that's probably about it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mrs.
You're
Meserve.
welcome. Thank you, Drew.